Hello, my name is Trudy and I'm one of the developers of Design Packs, a Shopify app that allows you to add new sections and templates to your existing theme. Today I want to talk about some of the changes that Shopify has made to the theme editor that will make your life a lot easier when creating a Shopify theme. To start with the basics, a Shopify 2.0 theme is made up of templates, product, collection, and page templates, etc. And a template is made up of sections, and a section can have multiple blocks. So let's look at how this plays out. You can see here, these will be our types of templates up here: product, collection, page, blocks. Today we're just going to stick with pages. So if you go into pages, every theme will have a default page, and then you can make other pages on top of that. But we've created an example template, and we base this off of the default template. So when we look at it, it's just the page data that you get in the editor. So if we go over here, you can see with theme 1.0, you were restricted to just having very simple pages like this based on the editor. But now with theme 2.0, every page is a template, and therefore it's a combination of multiple sections. The page itself is a section, so we can also just hide that now. And you can see we have nothing, but I've already created one section here, image with text simple, which is a little bit more interesting. Now we can get into discussing sections. So a template is just multiple sections. We can just add sections, everything that's available in the theme. But then you can see, so this is the section and it has a lot of options. So it has the image option, it has image aspect ratio options, links, image position, you can set it left or right, and so on and so forth. And so every section, well, most sections will have options, some might not depending on the requirements, but a lot of sections will have like many options. But then sections also have blocks. So if we go here, you can see that actually this icon image here and the title and the regular text are all blocks in and of themselves. And when you open those up, you also have options here. So you might miss those. You can change the various options depending on what the options are. You can go into the heading and you can see you can change page level if you need, or the base text size. And then we have the simple GUI for text editor here. So these blocks also are drag and droppable, so you can just switch up the order however you like. In this sense, the template has multiple sections and the section can have multiple blocks. 2.0 is so great for giving us all this flexibility, but there's sort of like a kind of downside to it. I don't want to complain too much, but one of the issues with it a little bit is that it can become tedious when building because you have so many options. You have all the sections, all the blocks, and oftentimes you just want to set them up once, or there's going to be common themes across all of your sections that you'll want. So for instance, in this case, we might want to actually just set like a more interesting font. So I'm going to go with Harmonia Sans, and I'm going to go regular for the heading and light for the regular text. You can see like, okay, now I have like this section, but then you might want to get a little bit fancier. And one of the nice things that I really like about Design Packs is that we created, I mean, just for my own self, but that we created this CSS. Now I can just paste in a little CSS and add like this sort of, make it a little bit more clear. All I'm doing here is just selecting nth type elements p tag for the regular text and adding like a border bottom and a little bit of padding and stuff, right? So that's like pretty straightforward above and beyond all of the rest of the sections. And like you could set like the padding and the size and everything. But the thing that gets a little tedious is like, maybe now I want to make like another section like this. I would have to go through and like reset every single option here if I'm changing the colors of the text in the background. So Shopify just gave us this option to duplicate a section now, which I'm very excited about. And actually, Activate Inspector is another thing that's relatively new. And I tend to turn it off because it gets a little bit overwhelming because you'll click on things and it'll actually just open up the block that you're looking at to be able to edit it. But sometimes I find this distracting just when I'm working, so I don't always have it on. But then they've just added this option that's like duplicate. So right now, so I can duplicate. And now I just have the duplicate section, which obviously you don't want the exact same content, but you might want it close enough. So say in this new one, I'm going to just swap the image position so that we have balance on the page. I'm going to turn this off again too, because it does kind of distract me. And then all you have to do then is just go in and we can change the image. So I'm going to select the water bed, and then, we can just set like new, and I'm not going to change all the content, but you can just set all the new content, and you don't have to reset all of the little options that you set up. So now we have our two duplicate sections that are just slightly different setup, and we have multiple blocks within the section. So then the next thing you have to think about is that sometimes you probably have, if you're creating templates, it's quite likely that maybe the templates will have the same sort of skeleton. So it's like you might create like a banner, and this doesn't really go with the style, but let's just go with that. And then you might want to have a footer. So let's do like a newsletter footer. And you'll have a footer down there, and you probably want those on a lot of your pages. And so what you can do to make a new template is actually you can just go to here, pages, template, and then you just go create template, new example. I'm a programmer, so I never put spaces in any names, but you can if you like. And instead of saying based on the default template, now we can base it on the example template. So now we're going to create a template, a new example based on the example template. Create. And now you can see it's the exact same template. Now you can see we have two templates, new template, new example, and example template. And then you probably keep the header and footer. Those are often the things that are on, and you might want some of the sections, but then you could just remove one of these, add new sections. Let's add about with photo frame. You can just, this is kind of looking like a mess because nothing matches, but you get the point. Like we can add and subtract from the template, but we have like something to start with so that we don't have to do all the setup again. Templates can get a little confusing, however, because when we're looking here, you'll note that if we look over here at the preview, we're previewing the example page. So if I show the page content, it's going to show the example page. However, this little exclamation mark here is there to note that this template is not actually assigned to any pages. So we're just previewing the template based on whatever page. And we can change this, so we can go to another page. Let's try about. Okay, so we go to about, and it's different data. It's still not assigned to about, we're just previewing what it would look like if it was on the about page, but we're gonna hide that anyway. And then you can also see here it says assign to 0 pages. Now, if we wanted to actually assign it to a page, we would go to the page we want, in this case, example page. And you can see right here, it's in the online store, the theme template is default page. And so we just would have to go and find either example template or new example template. So let's try new example. I'm going to save. Now we go here. So now we're on the example page. We're previewing it, and it is assigned, and we don't have that little exclamation mark anymore. This means that it will actually show up. The other thing that is going to be a little bit of an issue, if you're working on a development theme while you're, say, making updates that you don't want to publish right away, the theme won't show here because these templates only show if it's in the publish theme. And so I think this is why they have this, so you can actually just see what it would look like without actually having to assign it. And then you can look here and you can see it's assigned to this page. It could be assigned to multiple pages. So that's the basics of sort of like template, section, block. And there's two other small little updates that Shopify's made that I actually quite enjoy. I'm just going to hide this for now so we can just look at the image with text. And so the first one is that they've made this new way to edit the image in here, and it gives you this like little image editor. And one of the great things is like image focal point. So we can set a focal point. So say we want it to be like really high, it'll change the way that the image shows up here. We had this as an option, but this new option is just so much more precise, and it might take a bit to like play around with it, get the exact one that you want, but like you can, and it doesn't require any coding. And then each one can be different now. The other thing that I think is a really exciting style choice is now there's the option for gradients. You probably have already seen this. It's been out for a bit, but there's the option for gradients as like a background color. So you can just choose from one that's already there. I'm going to remove this just so we can see the whole thing. So this is really exciting, but it was a little confusing at first because first you like choose one, and this I missed for a long time. So to remove it, you just remove gradient, and then it's not there if you don't want one. So just to go back to having gradient, we'll pick like a different one. These dots will allow you to change the colors to whatever you like to make it a little bit, your brand colors. I find making variants quite difficult though, knowing what's going to look good or what is going to be, what colors go together, how to do it. Like, I don't find it that easy, but what I do like to do is I like to use gradient sites that will just give you gradients and tell you what they look like to see what's nice. So let's say I like this one, and there's a bunch of them on this website, cssgradient.io. Gradient backgrounds, and it kind of accumulates a bunch of different sites that have gradients. And then here, if you go here, it says copy the CSS. And here's the thing to know that's also helpful, that's not necessarily that obvious when you're looking at this. If you go up here and you click this and you say CSS, now it's going to show you the CSS for this gradient. But if you just delete it and paste what I just copied from that other site, now this is going to give an error because of this last thing. Also, you just want to start at where it says linear gradient. You don't need the other stuff. So you can use gradients from these sites, which is probably easier than making your own, at least for me. And all of them will have sort of like different styles. So this one's like a bit softer. This one's nice. So if you click on it, okay, copied. So this semicolon at the end is a problem. And then also this, you probably always want it to start with linear or radial gradient. And so now see, we have like this fun gradient. And then you can you can also go back and edit it to make it exactly yours, or like if you want to change the opacity in any way. But yeah, this is really fun. Another good thing to know though, is that if you just want to make something just a color, you can also just write the CSS in there, and then you don't have to deal with the gradient thing. And that is also good to know because sometimes, at first I found this sort of like when I was learning this, it was like a little bit overwhelming. I was like, what's happening? What if I just want a color? And now you can see that this is now grayed out. In order to get the ability to add a gradient back, you just have to delete this, and then you can go back to a gradient. So yeah, this gradient picker is really helpful and really fun, but it was like a little bit of a learning curve, I think, just to like know everything.